Ah, Blue Protocol. The beautiful world is almost upon us. Soon we'll be able to finally reach the world we have all been waiting for. A new closed beta test, features, and so much more. Let's take a look. Welcome, Blue Protocol fans. I'm your host, RoboGamer1HD. Welcome back as we once again cover the latest up-to-date Blue Protocol developer news. This video may come off as a very lengthy one, especially considering we have 40 slides to go through. So, kick back, relax. Like the video, slap that subscribe button, and hit the notification bell on your way out to know when my next Blue Protocol video goes live. Let's begin. As always, we have the main staff from the previous streams showing up to reprise and showcase the live stream to us. They begin by always telling viewers what Blue Protocol is as a mmorpg. As we all know, the game is developed on Unreal Engine 4. The information will be broken up into two different streams, this being the first, of course. They opened up by showcasing a brand new trailer for the game. Right after the trailer, it announced that Blue Protocol will officially be available in Japan in spring of 2023. It's about time they finally announced a release date, guys. I'm so very excited. Alongside this, they announced a brand new closed beta network test. This will happen on January 14th, 2023. Up to 50,000 players will be able to participate in this test. Test will last from the 14th of January until the 16th of January. So, just like the first closed beta test, you will be able to play the entire weekend during this network test and experience Blue Protocol. Keep in mind, this is restricted to Japan, so get your VPNs ready. Also, to mention, if you haven't already checked the link in the top right hand corner of your screen on how to install Blue Protocol's network test, this will get you set up ready to go before sign up period ends. So I will have a video that will be uploaded at some point, and you will be able to click on that in the top right hand corner of your screen. Registration will end on December 13th, 2022 for this test. So good luck to all of you participating. The following slide details required to play Blue Protocol will be made available. So make sure your system is up to date if you plan on playing. Another thing to note is they will now have 4K monitor support. So if you own a 4K monitor like myself, you can play in crisp detail. During this network test, they plan to balance difficulty, test features of the game from solo, team, and team play, and so much more. Going forward, the developers went over each class as players in the previous test found some abilities and various other things needing refining. The first thing to talk about is, of course, the classes. First, Aegis Fighter, a class that uses a sword and shield. Like many players are accustomed to, this class is basically a tank, where it generates most enmity out of all the other classes and primarily focuses on defense. They proceed to showcase a video of this class and change in skills.
はい、でイージスファイターなんですけども、タンクロールで今みたいに、縦でガードして、カウンターをするクラスっていうのは、変わりがありません。でちょっと大きく変わったのが、カウンターがですね CBT の時は結構なんだろう、縦を構えてる状態でカウンター待機状態になって、カウンター発動だったんですけども、この仕様変更しまして、縦でガードした後に、その吹っ飛び中に攻撃をすることで、カウンターをする、本当にいわゆるガードカウンターのような仕様に、修正の方を行っています。で、今ちょっと出しましたけども、エネミーステップジャンプっていうシステムを、新たに、用意してまして、ジャンプ中に、エネミーに、接近して再度ジャンプをすると、いわゆる2段ジャンプをするような、システムとなっております。でそこから、強襲攻撃を出すと、ボーナス強襲攻撃。
As you can see, the Aegis Fighter is a lot more mobile. They can counterattack, maintain enmity, and take on a lot of hits while still being able to attack. What I really enjoyed was the charge up stance with the sword, and when broken, the shield knocked the player back, which was really cool to see in animation. I am extremely impressed with the changes for this class. Next, we have Twin Striker. As we know, Twin Striker is a DPS with high damage output. Like before, they have a damage gauge to maintain their combos accurately. Some skills contain buffs that increase the combo gauge. Eventually, it will lead to an ultimate attack. With the quick DPS combos, it may remind some players that it's like a berserker. The other thing to note is while playing Twin Striker, you will want to focus on avoiding enemy attacks and attack immediately after to continue uptime. You will want to be able to cancel your attacks halfway, and you can link up with the next combo. Just like before, adding more mobility to the class. One thing I would like to add is by watching the enemy in the video, it appears even the AI have become a lot smarter. They also seem to have counterattacks as well, which makes me extremely excited to see raids in game in action. Following up, we have my most favorite class, the Blast Archer. The Blast Archer is capable of being a mid-range support class with healing abilities. The class has undergone a lot more changes with more charge-up arrows and healing skills for self and AoE healing. With this class, it requires you to aim and shoot, which in my opinion throws more skill to the class as sometimes you have to find the weak points of your enemies. In the video, it showcases debuffs are a bigger showcase with this class. From sleeping your enemies to throwing a damage down, the class plays almost like a synergist from Final Fantasy.
で今ちょっと、一瞬出ましたけども、敵に吹っ飛ばされた時に、受け身が取れるようになりました。で吹っ飛ばしを、素早く回避することも、できるようになっております。で、ブラストアーチャーに関しては、今みたいに、眠らせてバフを入れて、高火力を叩き込んだりっていった、行動を取ることが多いかなと思っています。
Now on to Spellcaster. This class is the caster everyone knows and loves from a DPS standpoint. Spellcaster is a high damage DPS that uses EP. The developers suggest you use EP wisely in order to output efficiently. Gameplay has been changed for Spellcaster to maneuver around your enemies and create distance between them. The further you are from your enemy, the better you are and longer you are continuously able to cast elementals against them. Changes made to Spellcaster include the Element Burst ability so that you can enhance your damage multiplier.
トータルで考えるとちょっと DPS が落ちるっていう感じにはなっております。なのでその辺どうしても EP を回復する隙があるので、その辺を味方がいると、フォローしてくれるので、パーティー向きのクラスとなっています。で、先ほどから、何回か、動画の方でやって。
Finally, we have the Heavy Smasher. Weird name, I know. While this class has never been tested in a closed beta test before, we will finally be able to test this class out for the very first time in the upcoming network test. This is a mid-range, heavy-grade DPS that allows players to smash their enemies into oblivion. It's intended to handle large-scale enemies, whereas if they were able to handle a small enemy, this class would definitely send them flying. This class requires you to be more tactical and time attacks properly. Heavy Smasher operates with a cartridge system in place, where some attacks will require them, but then needs to be recharged. One ability is SP Armor, which allows a class to be buffed in defense and take on extremely heavy hits. The idea behind this class is to simply avoid, maintain close distance, attack, roll around, repeat. The ultimate ability tied to this class apparently has characters with cut-in portraits. So it makes me wonder if this class has some kind of symbolic spirit summon or something tied to it. Maybe even tied deeper to the storyline than we may think. Next, there will be a massive new update regarding the release date and support for Blue Protocol for overseas players. meaning the global client is going to be announced at the Game Awards. Personally, for me, I am so incredibly excited to be part of the global launch. It has been a long time waiting for them to finally announce an official release globally. We have heard it teased and mentioned multiple times from articles and even one developer livestream, but beyond that, not much else. So keep your eyes peeled on December 8th, 2022. Geoff Keighley will be giving us a world premiere of Blue Protocol. Gosh, it feels so good to talk about that. Following that update, the developers also mentioned something in Korean, which has yet to be translated as of this video. I assume Korean support is also coming in the near future, as it has been mentioned in the past. So for all of our Korean friends, stay tuned. Blue Protocol is coming to everyone. In the later half of this stream, they discuss feedback from the closed beta test. Hold on to your seatbelt. We're going to try and fly through all these changes and updates to the game. First, character customization. What I am going to do is list off all of the changes made. New hairstyles, hair color, and mixing, eyelashes and eye style, hair that covers left or right side of the face. Presets are also available now. Dark skin characters are now available. Eyebrow types, eye reflections, and more. As well as any previous customization features that were part of the past are now available in the character customization options and for launch. Another thing fans requested was more costumes and accessories. Currently, they have implemented a few new designs. They are trying to implement rings, but it's currently hard to do. They also said underwear customization will be a thing in the game as well. That's Japan for you. Players seem to think it's hard to rank up. New feature called the Adventurer Board has been added. You can unlock skills from this skill tree. This will reward you with items, extra experience, stamps, and so much more. Apparently, the Imagine system has also been reworked as well. On top of that, a weapon board for you to create weapons is also available. You can earn materials and craft your weapons you want, essentially making it easier for you to earn materials you need instead of having to constantly go out into the world just to grind for mats.
This Q ability, I have no idea what this Q ability does.
Players think the camera makes it hard to see during lock-on. They have mixed responses, so it's a work in progress. Players think it's difficult to know the difference between enemy levels. They are going to make it more distinct in the future. Players think skill build flexibility is really restricted. They have planned to address any skill-related issues that confuse players and how they chain with other abilities. As an example, a feature called class sharing using SP. This allows you to share skills from one class to another, which is exactly the same for an old feature implemented in Stormblood for Final Fantasy XIV. Players think battles feel too linear. Currently, the team has looked into making it more creative and unique for the battle content. Some players feel dungeons become speedruns, mobs being pointless, more rare items, rare drops from dungeons, etc. is what they want. They said that they have already implemented some of these new features to address this. Just to quickly stop on this point though, I had a major issue with this when we were grinding levels towards the end of the first closed beta test. Players would constantly run the entire dungeon just to get to the end without focusing on any of the enemies in the higher level dungeons, which was super unfortunate. So I hope that they can implement like Final Fantasy XIV has done by blocking off walls, forcing players to kill enemies in order to proceed. I think this would be the best solution, otherwise it would continue for the launch. That's my best suggestion regarding speedrunning in high level dungeons too quickly. It'll also add more replay value for the game if they make it more goal oriented. Players want to change battle effects on and off to set to specific characters. Sounds exactly like Final Fantasy XIV currently. Don't want all of those flashy effects on for all the players? Just turn them off and only see your personal visual effects displayed. I'm sure that's simple to create for a developer. So, you can change player effects on and off per player and allow specific abilities like healing to be seen. This will be extremely important in raids, which is now available. Directional keys when moving and avoid keybind and mouse binding options through the settings are now available.
Yes, you can actually.
Set equipment sets for each class. This includes anything to do with the Imagines, even though it's being reworked. So basically having a preset like in Final Fantasy XIV for each individual class. Checking class skills without changing classes, which means that you can do more than just that, but check up on what ability is available next for other classes too. Players want a training zone and dummy. Sounds familiar, right? Stone, Sky, Sea from Final Fantasy XIV. If you have ever played Final Fantasy XIV, you'll start to notice that the player base and kind of luxuries that players are asking for in Blue Protocol. Basically, fans are turning Blue Protocol into Final Fantasy XIV. But let's be honest here, there's a lot of inspirational things from Final Fantasy XIV, and it just works really well. I'm not surprised about things like this are being asked for from the developers. If anything, I'm more welcome to it, more so than not. Players want Imagine level sync. Some Imagines will receive buffs and changes per class. Players want to just ride mounts instead of having to worry about energy levels. Now, with the changes, players can constantly ride mounts. It will have a dash meter instead that will automatically recover. In the past, mounts would disappear and you wouldn't be able to ride them any longer in the first closed beta test until you return to the Astrolabe's main town. I am extremely happy this changed. I was not enjoying the mount part of Blue Protocol. This is a great change. Minimap on dungeons is now possible. Later down the road, you can even enlarge the minimap too. A new feature called Layer Map will also be implemented into the game, allowing you to see different floors for a dungeon or a zone. Players want bonus experience when exploring a zone. Sound familiar? Do I need to say anything more on this? Players want to confirm on spot if they can create an Imagine or equipment based on the items they have in their inventory, which has now been implemented. Players want to see more quests available on their display. Developers have increased it, showing up to 3 quests taken as well as progress on those quests. Apparently, it's hard to match the button with their mouse cursor. Not sure how this is an issue personally, since I didn't have any issue with this in the closed beta test, but this has been fixed, and now buttons are more bigger and closer to each other. You can now bind keys to specific options as well. For example, you can now set the C key to costume options, and the window will be displayed. Players think that some HUD options are annoying and hard to look at. So, just like Final Fantasy XIV, you can now have a simplified version of gauges and other options. Players want a shortcut bar to the display keys. So, you can now easily bind keys to specific shortcuts in-game. Players say it's hard to know when other players get killed in-game, so the log that appears when players get KO'd is now more flashy red, indicating when players actually die. Players want options to hide their weapons in the city. So, just like Final Fantasy XIV and other games, you can hide your weapon, display it when it's in combat, etc. Players want more profile display options. Players can now do photo mode, add effects, take screenshots in certain poses, and edit these photos further so that you can make it your main profile design. Something like Instagram, with allowing up to 3 photos to be taken and used. Players want a better follow system. If you don't know, this is like a friend system in-game. Players can find it difficult to know who's following them and if they are following that user. So this system is basically getting revamped completely. Players want to separate the talk window, merge them, basically move it around to where they want on their HUD. This is now fixed. On top of that, if someone is trying to talk with you, a notification ring will let you know when players are trying to speak with you. There are moments where players are unable to select certain things due to the amount of players crowded around the weapon crafting station or teleport portals. Now it is more accessible to click on certain objects. Players feel congestion hurts load times in certain zones like the Astrolabe's town. Developers are thinking on if they should implement a feature to reduce the load by hiding players. Players think it's inconvenient to go all the way to the palace just to change classes. Now, while this wasn't translated, I can't say for sure, but if they decided to go the route like Final Fantasy XIV has, I wouldn't be surprised, where you can easily swap between your classes at any point in time. It'd make life so much easier. Players find it annoying to go all the way back to town just to transfer items. So the developers are implementing a system that you can drop items off with a retainer as extra inventory. This was a very complicated portion of the stream, so it wasn't translated very well. But just know that it can be automated instead of having to go all the way back to town just to drop items while getting materials. It's apparently hard to set up amount of materials through the slider bar, which has been now changed. Players want to see which item category they are on when gathering materials. Now, icons in the open world are attached to each item when gathering. Players feel it's hard to set the exact experience amount when refining certain materials. So basically, the development team reduced the stress on players to figure out certain things like that out and make it easier to go through the menus in-game. But this differs from players to player opinion. Players want bragging rights via achievements and giving achievements, which is now being implemented. Players want guilds. This is a big one for me too. The development team can't show any information right now, but they are working on a team feature where players can gather and communicate. We will be able to experience this in the upcoming network test this January. Oh, I can't wait to see this. Players can't seem to meet up with other party members when moving from zone to zone. This was a long explanation, but this happened a lot in the closed beta test. The system was used to reserve space per zone, and if it was full, it wouldn't allow them to go into that zone until it wasn't maxed out. So now the developers plan on changing how this works so that players want to meet up when players want to meet up with each other in the same party or go from zone to zone together, they can. So note, this is a work in progress. Players feel it's hard to select things with directional keys, which has now been fixed to being more accessible and functional. Oh, wow, that was a lot of player feedback and changes, guys. I was stumbling at times, but I have to say that that was a lot of information to go over. Now, another thing to note is when the network test begins, around the same time, it's very exciting that they will have a benchmark to be provided to players to download and use to test their systems. Everyone knows Final Fantasy XIV does the exact same thing for every expansion. So the same thing applies here, and it's just another added thing to be hyped about. It may be something small, but it's a benchmark not only for bragging rights, no doubt, but also to see the beautiful world on your own computer. They did note, though, that ultra-wide monitors have bugs currently, so ultra-wide support will not be available for benchmarks due to certain bugs with resolution and pixel framing. This wasn't exactly translated all that much, but this kind of information was provided at least. The developers continue to talk about the shop that would be available for launch, but unable to be tested during the network test. Towards the end of the stream, they addressed concerns fans had during COVID and the hardships they had to take on while in development. I personally don't blame them because other studios had the exact same issues with COVID restrictions, and who knows if they will come back. I really hope not. However, with that being said, that concludes the most recent developer update, number 5. Looking back, we have covered a lot of information from the development of Blue Protocol. I hope to keep everyone up to date and as informed as possible regarding the game patches and changes to come. Not only that, I look forward to making a full walkthrough alongside everyone when this game launches not only in Japan, but globally as well. I hope that the global launch isn't too far away either, as I want to experience this game with subtitles as much as possible. I feel like Blue Protocol is going to be one of those games that is going to be a big tearjerker, one that I will remember for months and years to come. Either way, thank you all for watching. If you haven't seen my other videos, I have been covering a lot of juicy information from both Blue Protocol and from gameplay guides and walkthroughs to Transformers games, server revivals, exclusive unannounced information for an upcoming Transformers game, and so much more. As always, take some time, comment below on your thoughts, and if you enjoyed this video, please consider supporting by subscribing to my YouTube channel. This is RoboGamer1 HD, teleporting out.